We're here today with Mel Herdrick, Vice President of Exploration for Sonoro Metals Corp. Mel is a mine finder and has had a long, successful career as an exploration geologist in Mexico. I personally consider Mel to be a good friend and also one of the best geologists I've had the honor to meet. We've known each other since back in the mid-90s when Mel was the chief geologist for Phelps Dodge, Mexico, where he was in charge of exploration and development at the Piedras Verdes deposit near Alamos, Sonora. Piedras Verdes is now an active copper mine operated by the Invexor Group. Later, Mel became Vice President of Exploration for Premier Gold Corp, during which time he made two major gold discoveries in Mexico. He discovered over 2 million ounces of gold in the old historic San Antonio mining district in Baja California Sur, located between La Paz and Cabo San Lucas. And he also discovered over 1 million ounces of gold left behind at the supposedly mined out La Colorada mine just east of Hermosillo. Those two major discoveries led to the acquisition of Premier Gold Corp by Argonaut-Gold back in 2011, and Argonaut put La Colorada back into production, where they are still producing gold to this day. Now Mel is involved with another major gold discovery up at Cerro Caliche. Cerro Caliche is an advanced stage gold exploration project in the heart of the Cucurpe mining district, about 150 kilometers northeast of Hermosillo. We have high hopes that Cerro Caliche will go into production soon and become Sonora's next new gold mine. Mel, it's good to have you here today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Doug. It's good to be with you too. So by way of explanation, the Cerro Caliche project is located, as you mentioned, out in the Cucurpe mining district, and it's between the presently producing Mercedes mine and the former producer, but now owned by Agnico and developing Santa Gertrudis mine and gold deposit. So we're in pretty good territory as far as having a fertile gold bearing basement, I guess is the best way to put it.
You're also right next door to Cerro Prieto, which
that's right.
I believe is still in production as well.
Yeah, they're also heap leaching on somewhat similar to nearly the same host rocks as we're developing. The Cerro Caliche and the Mercedes deposit area are shown by aeromagnetic review to be somewhat connected with an aeromagnetic anomaly that connects the two across a broad gravel-covered basin. So in a sense, they're even counting just the Cerro Caliche area, but when you include Mercedes in there too, it's a very, very large mineralized area. And it's probably underlain by a very large intrusive that, as I said, is fertile in the basement to produce a great amount of veining and gold mineralization.
For people who aren't familiar with that area, the Mercedes mine is about 15 kilometers southeast of Cerro Caliche. Is that right?
Closer to 10, I think 11 or 12. Yeah.
11 or 12 kilometers.
But they're advancing underground out beneath the gravels towards us. So who knows, maybe they've got another 8 or 10 kilometers of mineralization there. Oh. I don't really believe that, but I think there are two very large mineralized centers from that intrusive. And the common host rock, or let's say causative rock, is as it's present in Cerro Caliche, is a rhyolite dome with some flows associated with it and a great number of dikes. Same as is present in Mercedes as dikes in the vein zones, and I think they're age dated as the report from a technical report that was produced or a thesis around 26 to 27 million years. So it's in line with the Sierra Madre mineralization that's higher up the east in the mountains.
Hmm.
But I think that in general, we're in a more stable area, so we can see some higher grades develop in the deeper parts of the veins. And the veins are developed as epithermal, low sulphidation type mineralization with gold and silver, and principally quartz. And at Mercedes, they are mining very, very good grades. They're reporting recently intercepts up in the 20 gram range in several of their new exploration areas that are out under the gravels. And we're just now beginning a program of about, it's targeted to be 6,000 meters of core drilling, but it's also aiming for exploring deeper beneath the very shallow drilling that's been accomplished, where we even have a resource developed in the shallow drilling that's been done. But we're looking now deeper down into the vein system, where we think that we should see higher grades. And there's a lot of evidence of this, which would be very typical to see the lattice textures and bladed calcite quartz replacements. And eventually we'll get into some fluid occlusion studies, but so far we've been going from surface outcrops and following them down with drills. We've got a drill program, as I said, the 6,000 meter basic targeted drilling that we just did a fundraising for. And we can talk about that in a few minutes, but we have a drill hole that's almost completed already. We just started a week ago. And
oh, really? You just started the project then?
Yeah, and
okay.
So that's underway. And we may increase that 6,000 meters out to about 7,500 to include a few other target areas that that'll be deeper targets beneath the shallow at surface mineralization that we have been exploring. So
are you planning exploring somewhat under the gravel cover as well, or do you have?
We're not going to go down to the gravel cover because most of the outcrops have us up on the mountain ridge, and this is a little contrary to many of the present discoveries that are being worked on or developed in the recent times, where it tends to be gravel covered. But this area was overlooked for a long time because it was kind of a complicated land picture. And I was first in there in 1995, 96 with Phelps Dodge, and when they were operating the Santa Gertrudis mine, and in that time they were selling it, so they didn't decide to pursue any more gold exploration for a while. But they held the concessions up there, even on this area of Cerro Caliche. They were called La Vista concessions. But in more recent times, we came back and I started looking at it again. I had several other episodes of being in and out of the district too, checking on status. But finally, about 4 years ago, it turned out that the claims had been picked up and pretty well cemented between 3 different people. And so we were able to deal with it in a more efficient fashion and get a good position in the district. Now there's also other areas within the district that are mineralized, and perhaps over time we'll start to advance and try to become more aggressive in going outside where we're working now. But for the time being, we're going to explore our 1,400 hectare concession. And it's a very, as I said, large mineralized area with a strong set of northwest trending quartz veins. And these quartz veins are probably developed on old, or maybe at the same, they developed at the same time as the veins. with the structures in a extensional setting, so that there was active movement, injection of dikes, and also very, very robust fluid flow through the fractures. And so as a result, there's a good set of parallel fractures, maybe separated 200 to 500 meters across the area, which then have disseminated stockwork and sheeted veins around them. So in the areas that we're looking at with surface mineralization, we see good open pit mineable widths, and the grades are a little low, around 0.5 to 0.6, but over a large volume, which we think is there, then it can be open pitted economic. Now, we've established in the past year from the drilling that was done prior to what we've done, as well as our own 10,000 plus meter program last year, a resource of around 200,000 ounces of gold with some silver. And that's just a start as far as an open pit processable type tonnage goes. And of course, that would be a heap leach type situation as well. So with very shallow intercepts and all of that resource, I think the maximum depth is around 80 meters. It's a very, very amenable resource for open pitting. And we think we can expand it maybe up to 5 to 6 times that, wow, possibly more. But the resource that we're trying to determine now with the program that's just started is a deeper, higher grade resource that's not counted in that resource that is published.
But how deep are you exploring now?
Right now, we're about 250 to 300 meters down the hole at a 45-degree angle. So our eventual target is around 250 meters of depth, and the hole will end at about 350 meters length. But we have some that are targeted a little deeper and some that are shallower, and some very good, strong, robust vein type structures that are obviously in faults because they've shown a lot of brecciation of the quartz. It's been resealed and refractured by the processes that were going on during the mineralization. So looks good, looks very good.
Well, it's definitely a huge hydrothermal system in that region.
Yeah, I think to me, it's one of the largest epithermal low sulfidation systems that I've come across. I've been up and down the Sierra Madres, not as much as some people have, but I've seen a lot of the mineralization out in the Sierra Madres, and I'd hate to say we're comparable. It looks a little bit similar to Pinos Altos, but actually the deposit it looks most similar to is the La Colorada deposit just here east of, southeast of Hermosillo. And very similar age. I think La Colorada there is 27.3 million years on the age. And resource, if you count all of the production at La Colorada, I think it's probably over 4 million ounces.
Yeah, it's just continuing to grow.
Yeah, so it's probably ultimately going to be over 5 million ounces by the time it's done. Because the interesting thing there is we're seeing at the surface exposures that we have at Cerro Caliche, very similar type of mineralization as there is at La Colorada, but La Colorada's got much more underground development that goes down as deep as 400 meters. And so I don't know if Cerro Caliche will have that kind of depth extent, but it sure looks like it's a good candidate for it.
I didn't realize those workings went that deep at La Colorada.
Oh yeah, there's some very nice old maps that are historic in nature from 1914, and they had the mining on two different areas going down that deep, and one in each of the pit areas at La Colorada.
Well, you also have a number of historic mines at Cerro Caliche.
Yeah, they're more small development type mines, and they were mining high grade. A lot of it was supposedly going to the smelters, shipping directly at a grade of about 10 grams or better, because that's what it was economic to mine and ship without doing any concentration. And so they tended to be pretty shallow too, about the depth of maximum depth, maybe 30 meters, 40 meters. But
okay.
It was kind of family owned from some of the families out of Magdalena for a long time too. And that went into kind of helping keep it protected from exploration and development over many of the years.
Well, now in the current environment with gold up at breaking limits at $2,000 per ounce, and
yeah,
silver up around $30 an ounce. I see that. I guess with the new modern exploration techniques that are available, there's a lot of blue sky potential up there.
Yeah, well, we got involved in the project when it was maybe more close to $1,200 an ounce, and we were doing some evaluations, and we're discussing back and forth. Well, should we use $1,200 or $1,500 gold prices? And now that's kind of not a very important.
Yeah.
1,500. If it's economic at that price, then 1,900 is much more economic.
Okay, well that's excellent news. I know that you had a deal with a Chinese company. It was a memorandum of understanding with EPC.
Yeah.
To finance and develop a pilot heap leach project up at Cerro Caliche. But all that's been delayed with this COVID-19 pandemic. And I was wondering, are you still moving forward with that proposal?
Well, some things have happened along that line, but most of it has pretty well stopped because of the inability to travel back and forth, especially to China, where the virus originated. And but it was interesting. We were doing the financing, and the Chinese groups were interested, and they followed what we were doing. And actually, I think two of the independent people from China did participate in the financing in a substantial way. But with the mining groups who continue to be interested, they weren't able to send their teams to do the on-site evaluations, so they couldn't proceed with it. But as I said, some of the individuals did participate individually. It was quite interesting with the financing. As we were doing it, we started at the end of June and finished with, and the original aim was to try to do about a $2 or $3 million financing. And then we finished it in late part of July, and the climate changed entirely from start to finish because of the gold price rise. And so it went from, like I said, a $2 to $3 million financing, and everybody that we talked to wanted to be participating in it. And so it was hard to shut it off, but it wound up being $8 million finance. And they still had to tell people, no, we can't take any more.
Well, that gives you something to work with.
Yeah. So I've heard people say, well, if people are offering money, take it. But I think there are some restrictions with the stock market.
Well, it's never free money.
No. Well, they become stock owners and basically owners in the companies, which is good. And all of our people that are in the company are a substantial part of the ownership of the company, because we pretty much held it together. In the history of the company, it owned, first of all, the Cipriona project on the side of La India mine that Agnico is operating. And actually, we were inside the perimeter for their control of the property with their fencing and gates and security.
Right.
So we had to, go through security to get into the Cipriano property. But it was a really nice project. It's all sulfide, not oxide, which was a thing that didn't sit well with some of the directors of the company. So they decided to sell it, get cash out of it.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the first deals that you did with Sonoro, isn't that right?
Yeah. That was pretty much the reason to get the company started was the Cipriano project.
Okay.
Also picked up another one, which was called San Marcial. That's pretty close to the Timmins, old Timmins Gold project of San Francisco mine.
Oh yes, the San Francisco mine. I guess that's going back into production again soon.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess they probably never stopped the leaching production, but yeah, I think it's back into active mining again. But the San Marcial is a similar metamorphic hosted and related type deposit. It's often called the intrusive. I call them paraluminous because they're always related to paraluminous intrusives, which means very high aluminum content.
Right.
But the orogenic
yes.
name is the one that gets used most often. So it's yet to be explored. There's pretty significant amount of gold shows on the property. So that'll be the next project to explore after Cerro Caliche.
So there's definitely a lot of opportunities for exploration in Sonora.
Yeah, well, I think Sonora is still a good place to be exploring. And there are other states that are excellent as well, but right now it's close to home here, so
yeah.
easy to get to.
Okay. I was wondering, you've been in Mexico for quite some time now. I guess about 25 years, is that right?
Yeah, real close to 25 years. I came in 1994, working for Phelps Dodge as chief geologist for following 10 years. And so, yeah, I got to see a lot of countryside.
Okay, do you have any experience you might like to share with us as an expat geologist working in Mexico?
Not one. I'm reminded recently of when I was my last year of university at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, and I was starting off my last year. It was about this time, August or September, getting ready to go back to the university. And the little town that I lived in didn't have any stores or anything for any type of commodity or clothing or et cetera. So I had to go to Spokane, Washington, which was on the way to the university anyway. And so I stopped by there on the way driving down to the university at Pullman. I had to get a pair of shoes. And so I went into a shoe store and I was in there getting fitted and trying on different pairs, and the young guy helping me too. And he says, "What are you doing? Going to a party?" And I said, "No, I'm going back to the university. I gotta finish up my final year in the university, and just got a couple of special classes to complete." And he says, "Well, what are you taking?" I said, "Well, I'm in geology." He says, "Really?" He says, "I just graduated in geology last year." So I thought, well, I hope it's going to be a better market than to wind up not selling shoes in it.
Yeah, well, at least you got a job.
So I got a job pretty quickly after getting done with my university degree, and I started off working in Montana on what became a mine. It did a 20-year mine life, and it was a pretty good. And I've been in geology ever since. Done some farming along the way, ranching, farming too. But
yeah,
got those roots.
Well, it's always boom and bust in this industry.
Well, yeah. The point there is that just stay with it. It'll probably work out in the long run. But like the kid that was selling shoes. He had to do something to stay alive, I guess.
Yes, well.
But you know, you and I have been here in this business quite a while. We've seen ups and downs. So.
Oh, absolutely. I know some very prominent geologists who used to have taco stands and what have you.
But Mexico is a great place to work. I love the geology here and working with great people too.
Yeah, well, it's always an adventure in Mexico. That's one of the things that was very attractive to me that brought me down here.
Yeah, it just gets hot sometimes, especially in Sonora. But
yeah.
But anyway, I think we're looking at a lot of great future here for new deposits coming online, and a great future.
Well, these are certainly exciting times. Well, hopefully in the next few months, we'll see Cerro Caliche coming online as the next gold producer in Sonora.
Yeah, I should comment a little further on that too, but you know, we've done a lot of studies that are taking us down the road to put it into production as a small scale startup heap leach, and then be able to expand it upward because of that was the practice of Chester Miller, and that worked with was it 3 or 4 mines that he got started here. One in Colorado with El Dorado, and Mulatos with Alamos-Gold, and Castillo with Argonaut now. But our aim is to start with a smaller scale production and be able to move it upward. And I think we have a great chance to build around or greater than a 1 million ounce low grade heap leach type resource. And even if we don't get it up to 1 million ounces, I think 500,000 to 600,000 ounces will create a pretty great sizable heap leach operation.
Well, one thing about Sonora is you can bring a mine into production on fairly short order. It doesn't take as long as in some other parts of the world.
Yeah, we're just getting started in MIA right now to be able to do that. And we've got a fair amount of metallurgical testing completed that gives us very good recoveries, or typical recoveries, I should say, of around 75% with, you know, I think 1/2 or 3/4 inch type crush. And we're in a private ranch that's doesn't have too many issues with some of the areas that compared to some of the areas that have ejidos that are more difficult to get everybody's approval. And so and we've got water available, and so all the necessary items are there that we need to have to be able to develop a mine.
Okay, well, that's excellent. We'll just keep our fingers crossed and look forward to your exploration results. I suppose you'll be publishing a few of those in the next few months.
Yeah, hopefully within 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks, excuse me. Yes, next few weeks.
You know, the small cap companies, the stock companies, we usually get information out pretty fast. Although some of it we have to hold because it's not like the metallurgical information. It's not done by qualified people, so we can't.
Right.
That's not a lot of information, but it's all looking pretty good.
Okay, Mel, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time to be on the program today, and it's great to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too, and so good luck.